Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Planning Board. This is our regularly scheduled meeting. Normally start with introductions, and we'll start with our planning director.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Collis Adams, Select Board Representative.
Philip Devanza.
Scott Ozana, Town Engineer.
Tim Redmond.
Colleen Mayu.
Brian Mazer.
Barbara Griffin.
Richard Freeman.
David Pierce. Joanne, do we have a full board tonight?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You do have a full board.
So David, you won't be voting. There's nobody missing.
Well, that's including David.
A planning board is not 9 members.
It's 7.
Joanne, is there an elected member missing from the meeting?
No.
No.
So David,
There's
you will not be
9
voting.
people sitting here.
Yes.
Completely unrelated.
I counted Scott.
I'm not voting.
So we have approval and or correction of the minutes of April 25th.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented, Phil?
Yeah.
Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, so the application on, I think we had added a condition, the last application that was, they hadn't gone to the Conservation Commission, and we were gonna add that they get comments from the Conservation Commission, it looks like we have them here.
They did.
So on page 27 of 29, I don't remember how we worded it, or if we had attached that as an actual condition, but it's not in the minutes. I thought it was gonna be something like subject to no objection from the Conservation Commission or satisfying the CONSCOM.
Which application are we talking about?
So
Beach Hill application? That's the one if I trace it back?
if I trace back, it is the Page Hill application.
Mr.
Earl was in
Blood.
for.
It's Mr. Blood.
They wanted a presentation. Commission did.
Yeah,
And they got that.
and they got that.
Yes.
So it's a moot point whether we had it or not. Okay.
So it says here in the minutes, Barbara Griffin said, depending on the comments from Conservation Commission, that they have no issues or concerns.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if that was an actual condition, but it sounds like it doesn't matter either way.
We treated it as one, so
Okay.
the plans have not been signed.
Okay, then I have no changes to the minutes. Sorry. Thank you for hearing me.
Anybody else have any comments or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, chair votes aye. Anyone who might be here for the St. Anselm application for the field house, Joanne, could you just give us a very brief statement as to why they're not here or what's going on?
Yes, the engineer, T.F. Moran, asked for a continuance to the June 13th meeting. And the only reason they're coming back to the board is to discuss the regional impacts that the board had questions with, and they were going to answer some of those questions before the board sends a letter to the Bedford Planning Board.
Okay, everybody good with the explanation? We need a motion to continue to a date certain. What are they asking for, Joanne?
June 13th.
Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to be voting against the motion. That firm is perfectly capable of getting the information in that we requested, and I am very disappointed that we are having a meeting on this 2 or 3 days before Bedford will be considering it, making our comments effectively cursory. Admittedly, our comments as a regional impact reviewer are not of great consideration to the Bedford Planning Board based on past experience, but there is no reason, in my opinion, that they couldn't have been here tonight.
So
But I understand that we're going to continue it because
We'll-
they're not here.
We'll vote on the motion, and then we have we can carry that on briefly, because I have a comment I'd like to ask the board about. We have a motion to continue this to 6/13/24 by Phil and Collis. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
You have one no.
And I'm not voting on that motion.
Okay, and then
Recusal.
Oh, because you recused, you.
okay, so, motion's been granted. So, while we have Barbara's topic on the table, what is our board's desire to address the regional impacts to St. A's regarding this application? Should it be only in writing? Should the board authorize a member of the board here to go and speak for the planning board? Should we authorize the town director to go speak? Or none of the above? So I just want to get input from the board on how to move forward. And to your comment, Barbara, do you think we could have Joanne send our comments that we did not get comments and ask them to not act on that until we have a chance to properly respond to the regional impact? Because they failed to give us the information we asked for.
They've obviously continued it on the agenda once. I don't see any reason why they can't continue it again.
And we certainly should put it in writing.
So I think we should send a written notice from the planning director, from the planning board, that we request that they not act on that application at that meeting, that they consider our regional impacts and discuss them and get back to us with it so that we can
Determine next steps.
make our determination. Because if they want regional impact information, they should at least accept it.
Yeah.
So can I ask for a motion to have the planning director, authorize the planning director to send a letter to the Bedford Planning Board?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Policy, okay, so we authorized the planning director to contact the Bedford Planning Board and state our concerns. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. We have to vote to appoint a CIP chairman
Well,
tonight?
Mr. Chair, I don't think that addresses the point you originally brought up, which was actual, whether to attend the meeting when it is considered. Because arguably, under the current status, subject to Bedford responding by moving a meeting when they receive this letter, we will be having a meeting in June, 3 days before, or a few, I don't know exactly, it goes to Bedford. So arguably,
3 days.
we'll receive responses, we'll discuss it, we'll have it. So I think your question to the board was, do we want someone to actually attend the meeting?
And what's the-
Or send something in writing. In the
Well, I
motion.
think
writing.
actions speak
Yeah.
louder than letters.
I think we
I
should both.
agree.
Do both.
So,
But letters in writing, part of the record.
I don't really want to do it, but I will do it as the chair and speak on behalf of the planning board if the planning board so authorizes me. And if the planning board creates a document that I can speak to rather than throw my opinions in, which I happily do. So, Joanne, could you prepare your list on the regional impacts and email them to the members of the board? Or at least copy them to the board somehow?
Yes,
So you can receive comments back, and then you can finalize something that I can speak to at the Bedford Planning Board meeting?
Sure, I have them listed in the staff report,
Tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, you're in there.
Let's review them right now. What page are we on, Joanne?
page 8.
Okay, start with the number you're going to begin with.
So number 1 is the question about opening up Runlet Hill Road. And I was told by Bedford that in order to do that, the upper portion is a Class 6, so it would have to go back to the town council, and they would have to reclassify the road to a
Okay.
Class 5. And she didn't know if they would be willing to do that.
Question. That's a Class 6 road up there?
A portion of it is.
They have designated Runlet Hill on the Bedford side as Class 6, non-maintained.
But they do, don't they?
Well, there's a portion of it that is maintained, but then it continues to go into the campus area.
But not at the gate.
I believe it's beyond the gate. Up to the
Right.
gate, I think it's a Class 5, and then beyond the gate is a Class 6. So if they open the gate, now you're going into the Class 6 area.
So let that be St. A's problem.
That's right.
But it's the town has a classification on that road.
Well, that's a pretty effective way of stopping anybody from using it.
We can talk to them about it.
Okay,
I think it's been that way for many years, but I don't know the
Yes.
history.
okay.
Okay, number 2?
Number 2 is the testimony that Attorney John Bisson
Yep.
gave about the Algers
Yep.
property, particularly the runoff. And I spoke with Nick Golan about that, and he had said that they were actually taking care of that now, even, it had really nothing to do with the approval, but I wanted to make sure it was tied in with the approval, because I would be suspect to say, you know, that it could get lost in the shuffle, so I think it should be part of the whole package, that gets resolved before they receive approval from Bedford. The third one is that the Goffstown Planning Board had requested there be no final approval by Bedford until Goffstown's interests or concerns are resolved. Then number 4 is, this was kind of a list of things, the light spillage onto abutting properties, noise, a plan for testing of the groundwater for PFAS at the site before and after the fields are installed, and hours of operation. And then the sixth one is actually a repeat of that. The fifth one is, you had asked about getting a drainage study from them when they had built the parking lot on the Bedford side. I did make that request already, and I haven't received an answer.
Can you request it again?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the light affecting neighbors.
Yeah, that's kind of a repeat.
Is there anything that's not on the list that was discussed at the meeting that someone's remembering? Okay. So if the board is willing to authorize me to speak to these 6 items, actually there's 5, because 6 carries over back to number 4. I will go and I'll speak for the board. We should have this list sent to the Bedford Planning Board in advance so that they have advance sight of this list. It's not coming as a shock to them when...
I did type up, I called them my notes, and so forwarded them to Becky after the last meeting, which included these items, so,
I would like you to send these verbatim.
okay, she's
Right,
aware
but Tim,
of that.
I think at this point in the process, the applicant has we have also provided the applicant with these concerns, and at this point, from a board,
Right.
we've let Bedford know what our concerns are, but we're waiting for the applicant to respond to them. Now, maybe the applicant will take care of all of our concerns. So I want to make sure that I'm not,
Except that we don't hold the strings to this application. We only hold the strings for the water and sewer. That's all our strings are.
but I understand Joanne, what Joanne just said is we've already sent this over to them. So they know what our issues are, and we have no response. So so I would ask that when she sends the letter saying, we'd like you to continue the consideration so you have ample time to address these items.
Okay.
Emphasize.
Because
I'd be happy-
we don't have the applicant's response to these
I'd be happy to
yet.
pick up my attorney and take her with me to that night if she wants to
I will,
go.
if I'm around, I'll go.
All right, so...
I just don't, the applicant has an opportunity to respond,
Right.
and we really need to let them do that.
We need a motion to authorize the chair to speak for the planning board at the Bedford meeting.
Motion to authorize Tim to go to the Bedford
And-
Planning Board on behalf of the
Put 2
Goffstown.
names in that, please, in case, just in case.
No, my motion is for Tim, the chairman.
Okay.
Good name. I'll go, but that's a good name.
Second.
Okay, motion by Phil, seconded by Richard, to authorize the chair to speak at the Bedford Planning Board meeting regarding the regional impact issues that we've discussed tonight. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. All right, so we got that out. Now we'll go back to some more of the correspondence action items. We need to vote for appoint the chair. We need a motion to appoint me as the chair on the CIP. I said I would do it.
So moved.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. We need a motion to
Point
appoint
Colleen.
Colleen as a member at large on the CIP. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes.
Does that mean I'm not on it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you could be, but I think the rules of regulations, for some reason, limit it to two planning board members,
Yeah.
which I don't agree with that, but it is a planning board subcommittee. It shouldn't be
But there's a
limited
reason.
to two.
There is a reason for it.
All right,
So moved.
so Brian, you made the motion?
Yeah.
Seconded motion.
I'll second
Okay. Motion to appoint Colleen Mayu as our member at large at CIP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Thank you,
We'll,
Colleen.
excuse me?
Thank you, Colleen.
We'll deal with the appointment papers and the rest of the 3 and 4. Number 5, I want to deal with first. Staff has a recommendation not to require a restoration bond for Phase 1 of Hawks Motorsports Trailer Dealership. And this comes at the recommendation of who, Joanne?
Staff, which would be Scott and myself, and then the engineer of record has also weighed in, saying he, even though it was his suggestion, that he's not in favor of it
So
anymore.
tell us why, Scott. I want to know why.
So, first of all, he was planning to phase the project,
Yeah.
phase 1 and 2, and now his plan is to complete the site work and roll right into the building. So there isn't this lag between the site work and the building work.
Yep.
And I don't know if I want to say this, but I think he was misguided.
As your attorney, let me say, if you have that thought, that probably means you shouldn't say it.
You shouldn't say, you should probably tell us what you know for facts and don't oppose.
I mean, his representation here, his engineer was the one that recommended
Right,
this.
Jason, yeah.
Yeah, well,
His engineer did not explain to him what that even was. He didn't know what
the
he was
applicant.
agreeing to.
okay.
I felt, he went in to speak with Patty, he didn't understand what he had to do. And it's such a small site, I don't see us requiring it for anyone else. It just, he's a local business.
And he's doing it all at once now.
Yes.
He's doing the site work.
Yeah,
all
that's,
at once.
that's a big key to it too, so.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I would say, which is a normal condition for most projects, if you have a big loam pile that's going to sit for months,
Yeah.
they usually have to seed the pile to
Stabilize it.
stabilize the pile.
Okay.
That would be the only thing that I think would be required, if it's going to take a Phase 1, Phase 2 approach to it.
Okay, I mean.
And any disturbed areas that are part of, the grading have to
Yes,
be.
yeah, I imagine his plan is to complete the site. So I think the reason that his engineer mentioned the loam pile was,
Well, he's the one who brought it up, that's what I.
yeah,
that's why I
so
brought it up.
when I was corresponding with Austin, it sounded like he was doing the site work himself, so he plans to stockpile it there.
All right, I'm not gonna have a vote on this tonight, because we don't know the answer. We're gonna vote on this in a month from now, because
Why?
what if he finds out that he has to tell him that he has to stabilize stuff? You're gonna just go with that and
Yeah,
not worry about a bond for that stuff?
yeah.
Okay, good for me. Motion to remove the restoration bond from Hawks Motorsport. Who's gonna make the motion?
I will. So moved.
And who's gonna be the second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed. That's it. Is there anything else? We'll take everything else later. We'll move on to new, old business, Joanne.
Okay.
Map 1022.
All right, so the first hearing on the agenda is map 10, lot 22, which is located at 75 Tenney Road. And this application was continued from the April 25th meeting. So the applicant with us today is not Matt, but
Not Matt, but Pete Mattson. And people get our names confused all the
Peach.
time, but
Peach Nordstrom. So they're basically, if you remember, they're doing a two-lot subdivision. The parent lot is a little over 93 acres, and the subdivision will consist of the two lots. The one lot with a house on it currently is 78.5 acres. The new lot, which would be the second lot, is 14.74 acres. So they're both very large lots. They only need 2 acres per lot in the agricultural zone. they're sharing, this was found complete already back in March. There's 4 waivers, so you found it complete, conditional upon, you know, the waivers being approved. So that hasn't been done yet. And there's a shared driveway that there were some questions that had come up the last time.
They're requesting a shared driveway, it's not an existing shared driveway.
Correct. They're requesting it.
Did the 65-day clock get waived in this application? This has been a
They
long
did.
time.
Yes, they waived it.
Okay. All right, any
So,
question? Oh, I'm sorry, Joanne.
a stormwater report, that was the other item that Scott had asked for, that was submitted back in April. So,
Does anybody have any questions for staff, either Joanne or Scott, at this point, before we move?
Joanne, just your memo said that the waivers, see the packet for explanation. I didn't see the waiver requests. Maybe they had been in the original
I think it was in
packet.
the
oh yeah,
original.
they probably were to
I
have
believe
that.
we were, yeah.
Okay.
The prior packet we got, that we didn't bring with us tonight? Okay.
Tim, I have a question for Scott.
Phil, please. Wait a minute, are you done? Before you start, Colleen, are you done?
So, yeah, so I guess since we don't have that packet, maybe if Matt, sorry, not Matt, but.
I told you, I don't think
I know. If you don't mind reviewing those just for the record, that would be
Sure,
great.
sure.
Thank you.
Yep,
When we get to that
Page
point.
absolutely.
Phil, you're next.
Yeah, I had a question with Scott, but I can wait until he gets to his comments.
Are we going to do that during the application or now, Phil?
What's up to you?
It's up to you, you're the one who wants to ask questions.
I had a question about provide a shared driveway agreement. Have we done that before?
Yeah, we require that every time
Yeah.
there's a shared
When you
driveway.
do it, yes.
Okay.
We have a template that we offer the applicants to utilize.
So we have never seen that, so one of these days we should see what it looks like.
Yeah.
We're going to authorize one, it'd be nice to know what it
I
says.
believe the town council helped develop it, or at least reviewed it before we implemented it.
Right,
Well,
except it's not.
the reason why I asked the question is if there's an agreement, shared driveway agreement, any disagreement between that is really a civil issue. It's not an issue for the town. And if there is if we require to have an agreement, it gives the impression that we're also the arbitrator.
I think it states that in there, that it's between the two
So,
parties.
Scott, you're going to have to think about that, Phil's question, and we may have to talk about that more later,
Okay.
because he brought us some good points.
yeah, I'm not sure, I honestly haven't reviewed this, so I don't know exactly.
Joanne, we'll talk to the applicant's guy in a minute,
Okay.
please.
It gets recorded, I do know that, the agreement.
So we'll have to discuss that further to make sure we're not going to put ourselves in legal limbo.
Yeah, I mean, if you just stop and think, if I have an agreement that I have to sign with my abutter, and that's a requirement of the town, if there's an issue, I'm gonna go to the town. I have a problem with my neighbor. I don't wanna go to a judge and the judge says, well, the town took this and the town required it, the town is obligated to
We're going to have
represent.
to have Joanne check with town council again and make sure those questions are answered. Anybody else have any questions for staff before we ask the applicant's representative to speak? Okay, for the record, your name, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Pete Madsen, a project engineer at Keach Nordstrom Associates. And I'm representing the project owner and applicant Jane Bigelow tonight. Basically, I'm here today to kind of give you guys a little bit of a project update and go over a few things that have been added to the plan set since the previous time we were on the agenda.
Do we have a new plan set that reflects your comments?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that was submitted in the previous package. Should just be 3 subdivision plans and then a conceptual lot development plan.
It's the separate sheet on the table here if anybody wants to find it.
What's the date on it?
It's a brand-new separate sheet, April 24th.
And the plans you have should be revised for 18.
Go ahead, sir.
Great, thank you. So there's 4 things that I kind of want to talk about tonight for main updates for you. The previous plan that we had submitted, that you guys had reviewed at the last meeting, showed a 50-foot access easement across the proposed map 10 lot 22-3. And if you remember, this is for, this is an access easement for the owner to get across the other property for forestry management uses. I believe there was some questions about that potentially being used as a right-of-way, so we agreed at the meeting to reduce the width. The plan that we have now shows a 35-foot access easement, and I actually think that you guys might have requested 25 feet, so that might need to change to 25 feet, but
Well, what
that's
are you willing to agree to?
20. We'll agree to 25 feet. I think that was just
25
an
you
error
put it on
on
the-
the plans. Yes.
25 feet for what?
From 50 feet access width to 25-foot access
The
width.
easement.
It dissects the second lot.
Well, I have a whole, I understand that, but I got a whole question on what the frontage is right there, because I can't find it anywhere. Okay. Let the
We'll let them-
applicant continue.
Sure. Number two, the second item that was changed was the previous plan showed a 50-foot setback from the existing wetland. It was brought to our attention that the setback needed to be 100 feet. We've updated the plans accordingly, and that setback is now shown correctly. The third item was, Joanne had previously mentioned, DPW was looking for a stormwater management report. It's also in conjunction with that conceptual lot development plan that the chairman has right now. Basically what we did was just prove out that pre to post rates of stormwater development are mitigated, protecting that wetland. If you look at the conceptual lot development plan, you'll actually see, I'm showing that there's a, we show the proposed footprint of the building there. There's a proposed driveway location as well. I believe that was one of the items that the board was looking for. The stormwater system is just a very minimal 3-foot wide stone drip edge that's proposed on the east side of that driveway and the east side of that house. Also, as part of the lot development plan, we've shown erosion control measures, which I believe is a requirement from DPW as well. On the fourth and final item is the shared driveway agreement. I was under the impression that this had been shared with DPW. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you seen a copy of this right here?
I don't believe it.
No, you haven't. Okay, so we had this drafted up. I haven't seen the town's form, so I don't know
Okay.
what's preferred here, but I'm happy to share this with you. Happy to share copies with anyone. But this has been drafted and is ready for review from town staff. Lastly, I'll just talk about the waivers real quick, kind of give you a refresher course on those. We're currently requesting 4 waivers.
For the packet tonight.
Would you like me to read the actual
You can just talk
sections?
about it.
Okay, perfect.
Talk about what you want to ask for a waiver for.
Sure, so one waiver is for site data. The regulation pretty much reads, there's a number of criteria that the regulation is looking for in terms of lots, lot sizes, specifically wetlands and wetland conservation districts. That's kind of the gist behind the waiver. That's actually what we're asking for. We have shown wetlands on the 2 kind of main areas of development of the property here. We did not survey the entire site for wetlands. The proposal that we have currently is kind of minimal compared to the overall scale of the parent parcel. So we've just kind of surveyed the wetlands that really will be, I don't want to say impacted, but have some kind of bearing on the project, not the ones down the rest of the hill that won't be impacted, shouldn't say impacted, but really don't apply here. The second waiver is kind of in the same vein. It's for wetland delineation, same kind of themes here, like I just mentioned. We also have a waiver for site-specific soil mapping, and that kind of runs in the same vein as well. We did not feel need to survey the entire property or have a site-specific soil mapping done for the entire property. As again, the area of disturbance of that, the actual parcel is very small when compared to the subject, the overall property. So same kind of thing there. There's really nothing to gain from having a site soil map for the entire parcel when just a small amount of area is being impacted. And the final waiver is for utilities. I believe the requirement states that all proposed utilities must be underground, installed underground. There's already existing overhead lines on that existing gravel drive out there, and we're basically just asking that the new house that's proposed just connect into that overhead line with one overhead wire rather than install a drop and run underground to that property. So those are the 4 waivers. Happy to go into more detail on anything I presented. Thank you. I'll open it up for questions.
Board members?
What is the frontage on Tenny Road?
For the overall or for the
Overall.
existing? Looks like,
You want a big plan? I got one up there.
usually we list it somewhere, it looks like, oh, adding that up.
Yeah, little segments,
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to add up these segments if you're just giving me a
54,
minute.
39, 29, 24, 13.
What's the requirement in the zone, Joanne? Is that agricultural zone out there?
It's 200.
So
Yeah,
it's
it's
200 feet in the
200.
zone.
They received a variance, right?
226 roughly.
Oh, they got a variance for the
Yeah.
frontage?
Yeah, there was a variance for, sorry about that.
It was.
Did the
Well,
variance
I don't
state the
care.
frontage, or did it just give them what they had shown on their plan?
I still want to know what it is.
It's about 226 from that quick calculation, give or take.
And what's the frontage in an ag district?
200.
They approved a variance for a new lot with less than the required 200 feet. That's how they approved it.
So does one of these lots have 200 feet?
No, it's the
No.
new lot. we're talking
So what about the existing lot? Did they grant a variance for the existing lot to be non-conforming?
No, that was grandfathered in, that was existing. There was
It's
an
not
old house.
grandfathered in
was
if you're changing
conforming
the
before.
frontage.
Right.
It was non-conforming before?
When that house
No, it
was
was
built,
conforming
they
before,
had not
now it's
changed the
not. It
frontage.
had 240.
Okay, so the house was built, it is a conforming lot now.
Right.
So by putting in a line, you are now making two non-conforming lots as to the frontage.
So they'd have to have a variance for the other one as well, as far as I can read.
Do you know if they asked?
So the note that's on this
I don't know
plan
about that
here,
meeting.
the note that's on this plan, I did not attend the meeting, I'm sorry, I really don't know. The note that's on this plan just says a variance was granted on November 1st, 2022 by the Goffstown ZBA to permit the subdivision of lot 22 with less than the required 200 feet of frontage. I don't know what that means in terms of the existing lot.
They probably didn't think of it.
Because you cannot create a non-conforming lot, correct?
Right.
By variance.
By variance. I mean, I'm sure there's a way you can do it, but
Well, they have-
What was it, November 1st, 2023?
2022.
I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying from the purpose of approvals, looks to me like I have two lot frontages, neither of which meets the zoning.
Yeah.
22's,
Well,
here's
that kind of throws a monkey wrench into the works right now. Because you can't approve create a non-conforming lot. Not my purview.
I'm just looking it up here, see if I see
The
it.
variance?
Yeah, if I could find it here, it's November 1st, 2022. Oh, here's minutes. Yeah, okay. The minutes on here. It's just the agenda,
I've got, you said November 1st.
2022.
Well, they wouldn't have the decision.
Oh, here we go. So in the original letter that Matt presented to you guys at the previous meeting, he said the applicant obtained a frontage variance on November 1st, 2022 to allow the two proposed lots here tonight to have 100 feet and 127.62 feet of frontage where 200 is required.
I'll
I
be
think
shocked
both
if
lots.
that's what the ZBA minutes reflect. It'd be the first time I've
That's
heard
exactly
that.
To
what
allow
I'd be
for
shocked.
two lot subdivision that will create one lot with 100
That's exactly what
and
it
the
is.
other having 127.62.
So they approved it
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
How can they create a non-conforming lot? I don't think it's even legal.
I don't think they can.
Well, the ZBA
Because
granted
they
a variance
they're
to allow
creating
it,
it
so.
by variance.
so they're
They
not-
can't do that. They can
Yeah.
give it 30 feet of frontage if they wanted to.
Yeah. They didn't create it, they granted a variance to allow
To
it to
a
have less
request,
than,
right.
so that allows us to now create it.
Right. But
whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I mean,
I think before any, I
I
think
don't know
before
that I
any,
comment on
I
there.
think before any approval is finally
Well, that's true.
granted
I mean, they're doing
someday,
stuff in country.
we need to confirm that decision that that is what
Well, I
zoning
mean,
board of
that's what it
adjustment
says.
stated.
Yeah, that's what,
But that's what it says.
Well,
That-
just because it
that's
says
what
it in the
they-
minutes.
I
No,
can't
according
find
to
the
the
minutes.
term.
Legally,
Yeah,
that's
I-
what it says.
yeah.
They must have a notice of
I've got the
decision.
minutes.
I think.
It's
not on there.
The minutes here
No, that
have
was
Jason
from
Cody
the-
made the
Do you have the
motion
notice?
to approve the variance
So it
to
would've
allow
been
a
sent back.
two-lot subdivision that will create one lot with 100 feet of frontage, the other lot having 127.62 feet of frontage, whereas 200 feet is required. So that's the motion they made.
That's very clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
And there was a comment right before that this would, that this is creating two flag lots, so that was, they knew what they were.
Oh, I got the minutes to open.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't, it's not creating
all
a
right,
flag
so
lot.
I
They
think
don't
we're
know what a
settled,
flag lot
Joanne. I don't
is.
think you have to read it.
Yeah, I think we're
What
set.
Colleen read, I think, answers the question.
Yeah.
All right, well, we need to go over these items one at a time before we move on. Let's talk about the, Scott, you're good with the stormwater management report for mitigation purposes?
Yes, there is
That's
just,
where that is being,
yeah, there's just a disconnect between the plan and the report from what I saw that just needs to update a detail, and then I'm comfortable with it.
okay. Now, I read your comments about this, the drip drain wasn't,
Yeah, that's what it is. It was modeled as being 2 feet deep below that 6 inch of top, because for some reason the 6
is
inch.
that reflected in this little diagram right here? that they
Yeah, so
put on
that
this
shows
one?
it as just 12 inches, when that 12 inch should be 2 feet, based on what I read in the report.
So that'll have to show up on some plan, or is it on some plan already?
It's just a matter of updating the detail on the
Yeah, I
conceptual
think
lot
that's all
development
it'll
plan.
take, and I'll be satisfied. Then it'll match what they modeled.
Okay, so they did vote on it, 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you, Joanne.
Sure.
Let's talk about the waivers a little bit.
Can I ask a question
Barbara,
on
please.
mapping? So
What are you on, which one?
I want to ask a wetland delineation.
Well, I was gonna do them one at a time.
Oh, all right, okay.
So we'll start with the site data. They've explained that the wetlands have been shown on the plan just for the area that's adjacent to the building site. Does anybody have issues with that explanation as to why they're asking for the waiver for that?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay.
All right, so looking at the map, the site. So you have maps. So is this gravel drive existing? Is this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the gravel drive that is there, and are you proposing to widen the gravel drive?
Nope,
with
it will remain as is.
It was done.
It has a driveway permit
Okay.
now.
I'm just trying to figure out the lines on, because it looks like there's 2 lines for the driveway and then there's double, there are lines in the middle of it, so I was trying to figure out whether there,
That's the easement. So I know it's kind of confusing, the line types are a little similar, but the 2 interior lines are they're dashed lines. That just represents the edge of gravel. Then there's lines on the exterior of those lines, and then kind of dash dot, or dash, longer dash maybe, and that's the easement, the driveway common agreement.
okay, so that's the proposed easement.
Correct.
Okay. And so that starts at the break in the stone wall, essentially. Is there a break in the stone wall now?
I believe so, yeah, for the entrance to the driveway,
So it
yes.
runs up, okay, over the existing gravel drive to the left.
Yes, that's correct.
So you have delineated wetlands, or someone has delineated them. I'm assuming, is there something signed by a wetland scientist?
Yes, there's a note, actually, limited wetland mapping performed by this office. I don't know
Okay,
exactly what it was, but yes.
Okay, So-
Christopher Danforth from our office.
all right, so you're showing, I'm not familiar with the property, so
Sure.
you're showing a sort of a limit of wetland mapping performed on the proposed lot, outer edge. And approximate wetlands, and you're following that edge line around. You have your setback set and then you have approximate wetlands on the easterly side of that lot.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So there is no access to this lot, the back of this lot, unless you come in on a shared driveway. Is that
To-
fair to say?
The back of which lot? The one
The
that's being created?
proposed lot.
Yes.
Okay. But the proposed lot is buildable on the front, or is it too steep?
No, so that's actually what this lot development plan demonstrates. Take a look. So this is the new lot, these are the property boundaries right here. This is the actual building envelope. If you see this line right here, this is the setback line. And then this is the wetland buffer, 100-foot wetland buffer, so technically this whole area. There's some slopes here, but as you can see, this is kind of the top of the hill. It sits up, the house is supposed to sit up really nice and have a great view. But everything kind of slopes down here, but it'll be built more up top.
But it could be built at the front of the lot before the wetlands, right? And you
Down
wouldn't
here?
need a shared driveway. No,
Like,
down
No,
closer
you need a
to,
shared driveway to access this lot, the proposed lot.
That's where they want to build a house.
well,
on the
you
proposed
could
lot.
have a shared driveway, a much shorter shared driveway as far as the easement goes, because the front, what I'm referring to as the front, which I know in survey terms drives people crazy because it's not directional. But there's a good chunk of this property exists before the wetlands, right?
Down below that 25-foot or 35-foot easement,
Yeah,
Right.
are you
Like-
saying,
all the way down front.
are you saying down here?
That
Like
rectangular area right there.
You've got, according to what I'm seeing, you're telling me that the wetlands
Ones are here.
are here.
Yes,
So
correct.
this whole section is buildable, right?
I guess supposedly, that's not the intent. The intent is to build these houses next to each other up here.
Okay, so if we're building two houses in the middle of nowhere, right
One
next to
one
each
exists.
One exists.
One
One
exists.
exists,
One
and we're
exists,
building
Gravel Drive
another
exists.
house in the middle of nowhere on a 14-acre lot right next to the other one.
That's what they want to do.
That's what you're saying you want to do. So why haven't you taken the lot lines and drawn them to the back of the lot, so we have a clean break instead of this contorted U-shaped lot? It is not a flag lot, it is a U-shaped lot with huge wetlands that would prevent any access around the back.
So that's why this forestry easement is proposed. The applicant is not planning on developing this property any further besides just the lot and the house that's proposed. And this is strictly just access easement to get on this side of the wetlands for
What do you mean,
forestry
an
for logging.
access easement to get what?
Shared driveway.
Well, so I'm talking about the,
So there's another access
there's
easement
this
that's
access
built.
easement that runs across the property, which is strictly just for forestry purposes, to get a logging truck back in there and log, if needed.
Which
selectively.
originally showed as 50 feet.
Which was originally shown as
Which
50 feet,
brought
correct?
about the comment, why
I've
do you
never
need that
seen
if
this
you're not
before.
gonna do anything back there?
Yeah,
missed
no,
his
because
name.
I think you,
He
but
might
I
have been
think
on here.
you brought, or mentioned wanting it to be 25.
And they agreed to that.
Yes.
Okay.
The applicant is not intending to build a subdivision out here or anything.
I don't I have a problem with the whole lot division, because I think when we create lots that have non-continuous lines, we create problems for property owners. So the applicant sort of wants the best of, and I'm not saying it's their property, they're entitled to it. They went to ZBA to get a variance for two driveways, neither of which now meets the requirement in the district. And they're cutting out a lot that and putting a house back, admittedly outside of the setbacks of the wetlands and on some steep property, but sort of right, when the front is available, and I get it, they want it to sit high for the view, but then they're keeping everything all around the house so that they can continue to benefit from it, which is their right. But I'm looking at it from a planning standpoint going, you're essentially creating a chunk of land with, so this property is going to need an easement to get onto it, and it's going to have an easement so people can cross over it. What kind of a lot?
Mr. Chair, if, I believe Barbara is suggesting that the new lot boundary lines could extend all the way to the outer edges of the parent lot. And if that was done, then this triangle in the northeast would be an orphan parcel, non-accessible. And I don't think we want to do that.
Why would it be non-accessible? The owners of the new lot would have access to it.
I think she's saying that triangle go with the new lot.
Right. Why would we as a planning board create a lot that can only be accessed by an easement and then has an easement across it? From planning.
Well, I brought it up at the prior meeting that it was at 50 feet, if they ever decided to build a road into this parcel, they could take a right turn and put a leg of road and put some more houses up there.
Yeah.
And this is what prompted this discussion with the engineers to
Correct.
reduce that so a road wouldn't fit. But
It's still
they can
from the-
always come back with another request to put another house up there someday, because these folks,
No, as I reminded you before, there's no frontage whatsoever for that portion.
Yes,
So-
there is. They have frontage from
No,
this
not-
side.
Not the way it is now, there's no frontage. That portion belongs to lot
I
22.
hear what you're saying.
So lot 22 is where the frontage is.
None of that would matter if you built a road, because a road
Right.
would create frontage.
If you carved this off as a separate lot, like you said might happen, there's no frontage whatsoever. That can't be done.
Unless you have a proper road, it becomes an orphan lot.
Right, you'd have to have some sort of frontage. You can't have zero frontage.
So,
Does the
at the
ZBA
prior
agree with
meeting,
that?
at the prior meeting, we discussed the fact that as well-intended as these folks are, and we know what they want to do, someday someone else is going to own this parcel. So we have to look at how it's going to happen in the future, because we can't just approve something that's going to come back and bite us later.
And I apologize for the huge, roundabout way, because coming back to your wetlands delineation, where else on this site, without the engineer going in the field, are there wetlands? Because we are creating this sort of unicorn here. And we've had the wetlands as to the lot that's being created, but where are they on the rest of the
So
site?
this is just for context, this is at the very top of the hill
Right,
up here.
okay.
So everything drains kind of down to this wetland here.
Okay.
Having not been out there, I don't know where they could be, but I mean, make an educated guess, there's a flat area right there, everything looks like it probably drains down that way. I'm assuming there's probably some kind of wetland or some kind of water body out there. Nothing that's gonna impact what is currently proposed. We took into account the wetlands that could potentially be impacted, and
Okay.
that's what we surveyed, that's
Okay.
what we have presented.
Okay, thank you.
And if they were to ever do something else, with the lot lines, they would, obviously have to come back to this board.
Right.
So they'd have to do something at that point with the wetlands designations as to where they are.
So is everybody set on wetland delineations at this point? I'd like to move on to the specific soil mapping waiver request. I think that goes hand in hand with the wetland delineation, so they all sort of are tied together. As far as the underground utilities goes, it is a subdivision regulation that a subdivision road has to have underground utilities. I don't believe it applies to a subdivision of two parcels.
It's not written very well, that's why.
That's what I'm thinking. So they may not need a waiver for the underground utilities, because that's applicable only if you build a new subdivision road,
I
as I
think,
read it.
yeah, I don't think it's quite clear, but I think that's the intent.
Right, so the underground utilities may be a moot point for a
It's
waiver.
more for like a new sub.
If there's gonna be a
subdivision.
road,
They're
yeah.
trying to deter
Yeah.
putting overhead power in new subdivisions. That's why that was written.
His Eversource, are you all set with the utility clearance letter? Have they taken a look and they're okay with extending from the?
I believe so, yeah, I think you had some work done a while ago to upgrade those poles back there, so I think everything.
I had to repair the line from the last pole, the whole underground section
Name for
to
Gail,
the
please.
house.
Yeah, if you're going to speak, could you come up to the table, please, and give us your name for the record, please?
We have a minute taker who's not here.
Oh, I'm
so-
sorry. I did have to repair the line.
Could you give us your
from-
name for the
Oh, I'm
record?
sorry, I'm Jane Bigelow, I'm the owner of the parent lot. I I had to repair the line from the last pole that ran underground alongside of the driveway to the transformer, and then from the transformer to the house, because it got damaged when they were doing the driveway.
No, that was accidental damage, wasn't storm damage.
No, that was accidental damage.
Right, that's why you had to pay for it.
Yes.
All right. So the underground utilities may be a moot point, we'll discuss that.
Great. Okay,
That
thank
waiver
you.
may not be needed to be requested.
Sure.
And then the elephant in the room, in my book, is the shared driveway agreement, shared driveway access. I'd like to say something, if somebody else wants to go first, I'm happy to wait. So I know in our subdivision regulation states that we permit shared driveways, but I think you have to interpret that to the point where you're making a good planning decision when you approve a shared driveway. I drove out to your driveway, Jane, I drove all the way up to your house in my pickup, and I looked at the possibility that someday that the people who buy this place in the future and own the nice house on the higher ground, they get into a beef with the house you live in, and they want their own driveway. I looked at the topography and the way you could never build another driveway to that back lot up your own easement. It's impossible. So in my opinion, a shared driveway here is bad planning because you're not giving the future landowners any out in the event of a discrepancy between landowners. And I don't want to share this driveway with you. We're the new owners. We want to have our own driveway. They could not ever build a new driveway parallel to yours because of the wetlands and the topography out through there. So I'm just not in favor of the shared driveway aspect of this application.
Can I just say something?
Please.
If they can't build, excuse me, if they can't build a new driveway, then they would never be able to build a driveway, period, which means...
There's already a driveway there now. The existing driveway. So if in the future, the two owners of the future owners of this property get into a fight and they don't want to share the driveway anymore, one owner cannot build their own driveway adjacent to the existing driveway because it's impossible with all the wetlands and stuff through there.
Right, so that's why they're asking for a shared driveway in the first place.
I'm telling you, it's bad planning.
But if they can't build a new driveway and not use the shared driveway, then you're saying the lot is not subdiviable,
That's
basically.
what I'm
And it's a
saying, yes.
90-something acre lot.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Well, I mean, let's be,
You want to
we
force my hand
saw
on
this
it.
section of town getting subdivided lot by lot by lot over the years with no, this has happened, these things have happened over time, and people were saying you're creating future problems for the last piece of property standing, and this is what you end up happening. How wide is it, the new lot for the skinny leg after the wide opening at the street, the 100, whatever it is we have there? How wide is that?
Sorry.
How wide is
The barrel of that lot from
the leg of that
The long
frontage
wide part.
That,
of the new lot?
the
How wide
first
is
little
that?
entrance right there?
Yeah.
That is, you know what, I have to get my scale, because I don't think.
I couldn't find it.
I don't see it.
Yeah,
Well, I'm looking at the 100-foot thing,
The
I'm
leg-
guessing
You're
it's
talking
about
right here,
300
right?
feet
talking about the
wide.
leg that's 300 feet?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
way up
but
on-
like, how big
The
is that?
narrowest point there looks like maybe 20 feet, like the narrowest, is that what?
20?
If you're looking at like that existing.
Right,
end
yeah,
to
I
the
would
say it's
proposed.
closer to 30 just by looking at that existing line right here. They're 29.46 feet right here, it looks like it's pretty similar, so I would say it's probably around 30 feet.
So why did you pick, since you were getting a variance for these numbers for the frontage anyways, why did you pick that to be so narrow? Because you would have a response to Tim's argument if the leg was wider.
Yeah.
You might not want to pay to go through the wetlands and do the wetland crossing you would need to do up above, but you would have theoretically an out.
It'd be the
So I guess that, forgive me, I was not present at that ZBA hearing, so I don't know exactly the full reasoning behind it. But I think it was just to kind of keep the easement on that one lot and not have it crisscross on both lots. I don't know
Yeah, but it
why.
looks to me like you still got a little room there.
Got a lot of room there. You've got almost the same distance from the iron rod there found to the point, and then over to where your easement is, you probably have another 25 or 30 feet through there. I'm just saying that if you don't provide the future owners with an out, it's bad planning. And I would not be in favor.
And unfortunately, the planning board drives by every day. Planning board members drive by every day on 114, a previously approved shared driveway that ended up in a feud between brothers. And there are chains and it is not shared
Sure.
anymore. So we know it happens. I mean, it just seems to me if that can move a little, it gets wide enough potentially for another access. Not that you need to put it in for the shared driveway, but it gives an out to say, okay, you don't want my driveway, you can
So,
go
I
down.
don't,
Because
It
then
would
if you-
need to be 40 feet wide because the driveway needs to be 20 feet for the fire truck, and then you need 10 feet from each property
So they
line.
could make that 40 feet.
So do you think
So
you can
that's what
get
you would
40
need to
feet?
get.
No, no.
Who said no?
and this is.
The owner said.
You can't make that 40 feet right there?
You could move that pin
At the
10
bottom
feet.
by the road?
There's a
No, the
wetland.
road, you're okay at the road.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to move the
But
pin
you
at
did
the
the road.
road. It's the,
Where the bend is.
it's
Yes.
that pin, that
Yep.
first pin on the
Oh, you
lower-
want
Yeah.
that widened a little
I
bit, is that what you're
want
saying?
that loop, that little funnel to get to be
Yeah.
40 feet, is it, Scott?
40,
Well,
yeah.
So is the point,
I mean, that's the narrowest
You can
it
get a
could be
driveway.
to sneak a
No,
driveway.
NFPA driveway needs to be 20 feet
20 feet.
of cleared,
Not for you.
then we need to be
of
10
cleared
feet?
land.
Yeah, I
And
guess-
16 foot of
I
driveway.
guess 16 foot of driveway, so really
30 feet,
36.
30, 35 feet would accommodate an NFPA driveway. Because then you would have a single wetlands crossing
This is
up
my
there
lot.
Right, right.
at that one spot. You could
It'd be
apply
a
for.
pricey one, but
Well,
you
that's
can do
only,
anything.
It gives the option to be able to do it in the future, and maybe at that point, the board
Yeah.
would be willing to consider a shared driveway now, knowing that if there was a dispute in the future,
Yeah.
there was room
there's an out.
for a
There's
potential.
an out,
Yeah.
and you note on the
The-
conditions that the
Yeah.
width is approved such that it meets whatever the requirements are now, so if they go to do it in the future and they change the damn requirements again, it gives them a leg to go get permission to use it as.
So
You're gonna put a
my
driveway up
question
from
for, I guess, Joanne or
Henry
Scott,
Bridge into the gravel pit. into that.
I mean, to save
gonna be
a
8%.
trip from going back to the
Straight up.
ZBA, we don't want to move any pin along the frontage because we don't want to have to go back and get a new variance. But do we have a requirement that that lot line be at like a perpendicular? I don't know if it needs to be at a 90 degree or within a certain, so can they just move that first pin?
He can do whatever he
enough?
wants. He's got a
Well-
pen and a piece of paper.
But I'm just wondering,
could even add another
is that
point
gonna
to
need,
help, too.
is that gonna need a
They can make,
waiver
they
from
can make it
our,
two, to make it around the angle if they need to get it.
for
They
the
can
angle?
put
Do you know what I'm
beds.
asking, how the lot line connects? to-
Yeah, it's supposed to be as close
as
to
per-
90.
Yeah, but it's not set at 90. So it looks like, my point is that where they drew the line, looks like they were trying to achieve a 90 degree. So as long as it's, he can move that point a little bit and not need another waiver.
They can, I mean, they can
Pete,
put
are
a
you
bunch
with
of points
us?
in
Are you
there.
with us on
Yeah,
what we're talking about?
I'm just, the topography of this site, as you guys can see, and the wetlands that are kind of along the gravel drive here, there's a reason why this gravel drive was put where it was, right? It kind of, it follows the contours and it doesn't impact the wetlands as I feel like putting another driveway, and I understand what you guys are trying to accomplish by protecting.
We're not asking you to put in the driveway.
No, I understand that. I
Yeah.
understand you're just trying to leave the door
Protect
open
it as an
for,
option in the future.
protecting the future owner from that, to have access to the road. I understand that. But I don't know that you would even be able to install a driveway there, I guess is my, that's the only thing that's holding me back. It would be very challenging with the topography and the wetlands that are currently out
But
there.
that's
Because-
gonna be
because
the
if you
problem
look
in
at-
the future.
Yes, I understand.
Barb, if you look at that driveway, one you were talking about with the lot lines,
Yeah.
see all the little wetlands delineations going up the edges? There's all little spot wetlands
Yeah.
that don't extend into the other lot. We don't know where that wetlands goes. There's, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4
Right. right here.
Not to mention the topography as well.
It's just
Yeah.
full of water.
It's very, very steep in
So
some
as
areas
part of the
over there.
rationale, this avoids and minimizes wetland impacts?
Correct.
I think that's what I'm hearing, right?
Correct.
So that's a rationale. That gets it done.
So, go get a wetland permit.
Because, say that again?
To build, not us, the future.
Yeah, the future.
Right, yeah, not you.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are scary words to hear.
No,
Those are very scary words.
No, the people building it are the
Yes.
ones required to get the permit.
In the
Yeah, just
future,
add,
yeah.
just add a couple more pins to tuck it closer to that easement and get the
Isn't
width
that
for
You're right about the
future
wetlands,
sidewalk.
though, because when I drove up there.
You
all the
approved several
pockets of
development
wetlands,
notes
they
saying
were right side.
So they could use the
Yeah, I mean,
You gotta
at
get
the
50
end,
I
wetlands.
understand, yeah.
They could use the shared driveway and have that as a backup in case there's a few. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what we're saying, Julie.
But the permit's only good for 5 years.
Yeah, it can be extended
What
for
permit?
5, so
The
it's.
wetland.
We're not
Well,
requiring.
no, we're
them to
not
do
doing
it.
Wetlands.
It's, if there's,
If, say,
if
yeah.
they adjust the
Right.
lot line so that they have enough real estate that they could build a driveway if they need to. And if 20 years from now, 30 years from now, there's a fallout, and the Hatfields and McCoys need their own separate driveways, then at that point,
Then
we've
they
got a
go
lot
get
of
the
record that
permit.
has the real
Okay.
estate,
Yep.
and they can go apply for the wetlands permit. And
exactly.
at that point, they have an existing lot, they've
Yep.
got a justification, they can get a wetlands permit because it's the only way to access their lot.
Yep.
I get it.
So we're making it somebody else's problem 20 years from now in the
Yeah.
future, but hopefully everybody all gets along, but if not, there's no.
Now we're back to
You're spot
wetlands.
on, yeah.
Now we're back to wetlands delineation. Do we need to have those small areas on the right side going up there marked out, or is that gonna be for feasibility for this other driveway?
I think we did actually go out and delineate some of those wetlands along the existing gravel drive.
You did, but you didn't extend them onto the new parcel proposed lot 22-3.
Yes, that's what it looks
So
like.
if we're
correct.
gonna say that we're gonna create a possible path for a future driveway, if those wetlands are massive and they would preclude building a driveway through there without major dredge and fill permits from DES, then putting a driveway there is a moot point because
I'm not asking them to do this so that I have a technically feasible driveway. I'm asking them to do this so that there's enough space
Okay.
for them to make a determination in the future if they want to bother to put a driveway in, right?
That makes sense.
I don't know if I have an older plan set, but the wetland certification isn't stamped and signed on my plan set.
I didn't think so.
No, it's
I
not on
didn't
the
think so.
original. Is it on the full size?
No.
No.
Sorry, I didn't notice that.
We
there.
don't usually get that until
The end.
the
Yeah,
end.
it is,
but-
we have the original, and it is stamped.
Okay.
Chris has recently moved on to a new office, so it's harder to get his stamp these days rather than going over to the next cubicle and getting it.
Okay,
We gotta send it out to him, so.
should wait till the end.
So, Pete, I think what the board is asking for is if you come from Kenny Road, from the first connection of the proposed property line.
Sure.
You come into that first change in direction, you have a pin there.
Yep, right here.
Then it goes up to the next one.
Yep,
I think we're asking you is to take that pin, slide it down grade,
yep.
and make a different point, and then reconnect that one to that one and that one back out to Tenny Road,
Yeah.
creating an area wide enough for a driveway to actually fit.
At this pinch point right here.
That does not change your variance at Tenny
Correct.
Road,
Correct.
and it doesn't change anything on the plan other than just relocating that line to accommodate
It'll slightly change.
35 or 40
Some
foot
square
wide
foot-
area.
Square footage, but it'll be nickels and dimes, so,
I think that's what the board is stating at this point.
sure.
You.
All right,
I still don't like the lot line.
Okay,
I still don't like it.
I'll tell Matt.
Tell them all.
All right, are we gonna try to act on this tonight? What's your recommendation, Joanne?
I think we can do that and staff can take care of making sure that that is shown on the final plan.
Well, has Scott's issue in comment number 1 on page 4 been dealt with? The rest of your
Yes.
provisions are
Yes, Scott said yes.
standard.
Yeah, that one's I can easily be handled administratively.
Well, he just has to show the detail on the plan.
Yeah,
for
just the
for
detail
DP.
needs to be updated.
That's administrative.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why this board would need to see that again.
Scott, oh,
No,
sorry.
go ahead,
I
Colin.
was gonna say, number 9 on page 5, Scott,
I
that
don't
looks,
have a packet, so I
okay.
don't.
It was the driveway permit.
Everybody's showing salary packet.
I don't know if that was just something copied and pasted from the conceptual, or is that 300 foot, is there a driveway permit for the 300 feet access to this site as well?
I think it's for the
So
parent,
that-
parent lot.
That's still required as part of this.
This-
They'll need a driveway permit.
This is my comment
for
for
the remainder.
the next application.
Yeah, that's what I
think.
thought, because that's a duplicate of the comment for
Yeah, it's just got your
the
name on it,
conceptual
Scott.
discussion.
Oh, I thought this one had
Where'd
it,
you find
okay.
out? It was over here.
Stops at the carryover.
Yeah, this number 9 is verbatim from my comments for the other one, which I don't. So that's just
Okay,
a
so we think
mistake.
that's
That's
just,
mine,
okay.
that's mine.
And they're not in the
Oh,
conditions for
sorry.
approval.
Yeah, okay,
Somebody-
so number 9's not a, thank you.
All right, so following up on that on page 6, has number 11 been taken care of?
It
Yes.
doesn't show on, it shows on the new plan here, but if they're gonna reduce it to 25, it'll have to be
Yep,
shown
Yeah,
on a,
yeah.
on a subsequent plan
revised
submitted to
revised
Yeah.
plan.
to
Yep.
the,
That'll be updated.
plan
That'll be on
office.
the revised.
Yeah, that's an easy, very easy change.
And then we need language for the easement too.
Correct, yes, we'll provide that as well.
So the first thing we have to deal with is the waivers, right?
Yeah, so let's start,
Well, just one other question though. The issue for the, about the concern about the shared driveway, that can be handled by staff, I'm assuming.
well, they're proposing a shared driveway agreement. I think DPW should at least look at it and let,
Yes, we may- I may actually, since ours has already been reviewed before, I probably will send them ours to,
well, let you
okay.
We have,
talk with them.
we have this prepared, Scott. if I
Yeah.
Just
send
submit
over
it
to you.
to staff and they'll look it over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please. So let's start with the 5 waivers, the site data. Do you want to lump them, all 3 wetlands waivers into one motion, since they're all intertwined? Does anybody think the underground utilities waiver is necessary? I don't, because it's
No.
applicable
No,
to
it's not.
subdivision.
No, I think the waiver is appropriate, yes.
Okay, so we're going to eliminate the underground utilities waiver, we're going to cancel that out. But the site data, wetland delineation, and site-specific soil mapping request for waivers, the applicant has stated the reasons why they feel that they are not needed for this application. Is there any discussion, someone want to make a motion?
So I'd make a motion to approve those 3 waivers as requested, the justification is explained by the applicants due to the size of the lot, because sufficient data has been provided to demonstrate, the lots will meet our regulations without that data.
Seconded? Motion to grant waivers 1, 2, and 3 by Colleen, seconded by Richard. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. All right, so now the waivers are handled. Now we're gonna go back. The 50-foot access agreement will be reduced to 25, that'll be administrative. The 50-foot wetland setback, it's already shown at 100, so that doesn't need handling. DPW is accepting the stormwater management report for mitigation, that's correct, Scott? And that'll be made part of the record?
Yes.
Okay, so the shared driveway needs to be voted on, whether we're going to permit a shared driveway for this application. Any more discussion on the shared driveway?
Excuse me, do you have to take a vote on that if it's allowed in our regulations?
Actually, I'm not going to vote on that right now, because I didn't open a public hearing. And before we vote on anything like that, we can deal with waivers, but we're going to open a public hearing on this before we go any further. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak about this application, now's the time to come up and speak your piece. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Well, I think if you're either gonna approve the subdivision, which would include the shared driveway,
Right,
or we don't have to necessarily vote on the shared driveway element.
exactly.
Anything else we've forgotten, Joanne?
So I have listed as, have we already addressed the waivers?
Yes.
Yes.
We got a motion to grant 1, 2, and 3. 4 is deemed moot.
So suggested conditions of approval, I have that we're adding one that the shared driveway agreement is going to be done to the satisfaction of DPW and is going to be recorded, and that the plan is going to be modified such that the lot line for access to the new lot will meet the, what is it, NAFA requirements as they are today, so that there can be a driveway put in which will need, how many feet is that, Scott?
300.
20 feet of cleared space, 16 feet of all-weather surface.
36
Yeah.
feet.
So, yeah,
No,
30, it should
20
be
feet.
36 because you need the.
20 is the overall.
No,
But
but
you
the
mean-
lot, the
16
lot
Yeah,
has to
two
be,
lots.
the line has to be 36
Yeah.
feet.
16, then the 10 feet on
You
each
can
side.
do it.
So you're amending number 15 to read to provide the shared driveway agreement that's satisfactory to the DPW?
Yeah.
Is that how you amended 15? Okay, anything else?
To be recorded also.
Then the addition of number 20 about the
Right.
changing them.
Number 11 addresses the 35-foot easement, that's it in there.
Are 9 and 11 duplicates?
Yeah.
Probably just get rid of 9, 11's more.
So we'll get rid of 9 because they're duplicate. Anything else from you folks? Joanne,
No, I'm good.
board members? You going home tonight, or are we gonna sit here?
So I'll make a motion, based on the findings of fact, the applicant has met the requirements of the development regulations, given the waivers that we've granted, that we approve the subdivision approval with the conditions of approval, 1 through 20, the addition of 19, and I guess striking number 9 for the staff's recommendation memorandum, as discussed with Barbara's modifications.
Second.
So is the motion to grant the subdivision request with the condition noted and all other items to be handled administratively? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed.
Opposed?
2 oppositions there. Abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes. You're all set.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night.
You too.
Go Celtics.
St. Anselm is not here. All right, Joanne, we have a conceptual review on map
Yes.
4, lot 63.
We do. This is a conceptual for 2 lots, a 2-lot subdivision on New Boston Road. The owner is Christopher Chandler and the applicant is Joseph Mullaney. And you should have a little packet, starts, looks like this.
Yep.
And there is a conceptual plan in there, as well as the application, and some copies of the property cards.
Okay, there's a memo on the table from Concom relative to this application. Everybody has it? And make sure you have that after that. So Joanne, what do you have, anything for us on this? Do you want to let the board know about?
No, basically, they're looking to carve off about 5.26 acres off of an existing lot. There is a woods road that is currently there. It's actually too close to the lot line, but there is a road with entranceway into the property that comes in, goes through, and then it hits a wetland. So there would need to be a wetland permit for that. And then it continues in, and they'd like to build closer to the river, but they do need to remain out of the 100-foot surface water buffer and possibly the 250 feet shoreland setback. That would be dealt with once they decide where they're siting the house and they go for the building permit. They did provide a driveway, so I guess they do have a driveway permit for the first 300 feet. And there's a notation on there that it would need to be amended if they were to go any further than that. Let me just go to the page here.
Yeah, so the driveway permit was granted for basically access to the site for doing some clearing.
To what, to the parent lot?
To the
To
parent
the
lot.
parent lot, yeah. So the parent lot had enough frontage to allow for a second driveway. It's actually quite substantial frontage
Right.
on that, I don't know
It's
what
been
it
a
is.
large lot for a long time because of wetlands issues.
Yeah.
Nobody can figure out what to do with it.
So Eric granted the driveway permit
To the parent lot.
to the parent lot.
Which runs where?
Well, is it going to be transferable? That's the big question I would ask you, Scott.
Yes, so it'll be considered an existing driveway at that point, so technically, yes, it's transferable, but what the permit was required, and I believe you dealt with Eric, he was requiring like the full engineered drawings and everything to meet NFPA. There's quite a, I actually drove up there the other day, there's quite a substantial uphill and so that's the gist of the driveway permit, is he'll need a
Is that the
driveway
gravel
mod.
path? If I
Well,
look at this,
so-
where is it?
So which one are you looking at? The
So Scott,
cover sheet?
the question I have for you is,
Gravel path, yes.
yes, but you see, Scott, the driveway permit was granted to the landowner before this lot line was posted on this plan.
Mm-hmm.
That was for a different purpose. Does it matter to DPW if it's going to be transferable or not? Is it too close to the property line? I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, so as it exists today, it's not too close to the property line. The way it's shown on this plan, it is. That property line will need to move. And I spoke to Eric, that is located because apparently it switches to state maintenance like 5 feet from where, into toward New Boston. So they put that driveway where it is. So really, either you need a waiver from this group, from this board, or you need to move that over to get the 10 feet of separation between the
Okay,
the
so
driveway.
that'll
and the
come up in
property line.
discussion with the applicant.
Yeah.
All right, so driveway permit request. I'm looking at sheet 1 of 1, all right? So there is, I see where what I'm assuming is the gravel drive, it's just not labeled that way, comes right to the monument for the lot, the proposed lot division. So it goes in. What did DPW approve? I see sort of these spotted lines with the break in wetlands, and then it goes out back.
Just the first 300 feet of driveway, which,
Which goes to where?
let me see.
Before or after the wetlands?
It must go before the wetland.
No, it's the
Stop
300
there.
is before the wetlands.
It isn't, but we're waiting so
Wait a
you
minute.
can tell us.
Don't,
Okay.
Oh,
don't
don't
talk.
talk.
He already told you that, I heard.
I knew it.
I didn't see.
Yes, you did, you said, let me talk.
Control your client. I already know, you can't control him. So anyway, it's a discussion point about this driveway. If it's gonna stay where it
So 300 feet
is,
approved, okay.
if it's gonna stay where, it looks like they used a break in the stone wall, Scott, is that what I'm seeing on the front?
Well, they might have made the break.
Or whatever they did. They're gonna
Honestly, I
have, they're
don't
gonna
know if
have
they
to
made the
either do
break.
something with the driveway to make it meet this plan, or they're gonna have to move the line
Yes.
so that you meet our regulations. They'll find that, they've already heard that, so now that's the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my comments, so I don't know if you received them prior, but.
No, I didn't.
No? Okay, sorry.
All right.
You did.
Anything else for staff from planning board
I
members?
sent them out.
She just told me to come to last night's meeting.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody else have anything for staff, either Joanne or Scott? Seeing none, I'll ask the applicant to identify himself for the record.
My name's Joe Mulaney.
Who's doing the talking?
Sounds like both of us. My name's Alex Cam with the GPI. I'm
Alex, could you spell your
Alex. Cam, C-A-M-M.
because they're gonna be doing the minutes from the audio recording.
Okay.
And you're from who, Alex?
Greenman Peterson, Inc.?
Is that the GPI here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, tell us what you are asking for in a conceptual plan here.
Yeah, in a conceptual plan, the idea was to bring this before the board. We've already gotten some good feedback on the potential driveway location, which is good because that lot line we can easily slide over to meet the 10 feet requirement. What we're trying to do is we're cutting out a 5-ish acre lot. I say 5-ish because if we move that lot line, that area may change. And tonight we were going to review with the board. We were going to talk about the site-specific soils. You know, this parent lot is 48 acres. We don't want to soil map 48 acres. So we were going to see if the board would be favorable to contemplating a waiver later on to limit that to, you know, the subdivided parcel. And as you guys know, Joe is planning on putting a house on this lot. But right now, we are trying to just simply subdivide a 5-acre piece from the parent lot. You know, we're happy to discuss what Joe's going to be trying to do later on, but the application is going to simply be for a subdivision of land and not necessarily the site improvements that are going to be proposed later on.
Are you aware of some of our regulations about you have to show a building plot and the R4K septic area?
Yep,
Those
yep.
things will have to be shown on a future plan.
Sure, yes, and there's, you know, with 5 acres with favorable soils, there's plenty of room to do that, and we're you know, perfectly capable of putting that on the next plan.
Generally speaking, we don't like to see just the subdivided lot, we want to see the parent lot in its entirety.
Well, I've got the inset
On
there.
a plan. No, the
Okay.
inset is not what we're talking, the whole plan, the big sheet that shows the parent lot in its entirety and what you're cutting out of the parent lot. So that whatever the size of that parent lot is, you have to put it on a piece of paper,
Okay,
because it's
on a full-size piece of paper.
yeah, because the fact is that you're taking a part of a parent lot. We want to know what the parent lot is for the record. It has to be part of the record. What size the parent lot is, identify it with a lot number, name, and all that kind of stuff. You didn't even, it's right up here in the corner.
No, if you
Well,
look at
I'm
sheet 1 of
confused,
1,
actually.
if 1 of 1 has got an inset on it,
Yeah, but that's not
but
what
it's
we
got
want.
everything identified, but I'm just saying
It needs to
this.
be on a full-size piece of paper. That inset needs to be on a full-size piece of paper.
Because that parent lot that's remaining, in my mind, you're creating a new lot that we want to make sure the meets and bounds and that's,
So you're going to require a boundary survey on the full 48 acres?
No.
We
no,
did not-
not a boundary, but we
You can
need to
use,
see
you can
the,
use what they have now, whether it's a plot plan or a GIS map, or
Okay.
just something
Yeah.
to identify
That
the
lot.
parcel. Because it's got crazy curved lines in it, that would,
Right, that's
Yeah.
that's the river.
Yeah.
There's a river boundary on the
Well, and you
back
just
side of
heard
it.
the previous application that did waivers for essentially doing the work for the entire lot, because they were just.
site-specific soil mapping, the
Right.
wetlands
Right,
mapping,
so you
that
just
stuff
need to do
Yep.
can
some
be considered
waivers.
as a waiver, as you heard in the prior application.
Right, yes.
You have to identify the names of the people for the parent lot, you know, when you do the map
Yep,
for
the
lot
owner of records
63.
on the plan as well.
On the, right in the little box, you gotta have it in there, because that's what people will go to look for the owners. It's just part of the detail.
Joanne, are abutters on the opposite side of the road required to be identified?
They are. And they're also, they'll also receive a butters notification.
Yep, they're on the plan as well.
But their data for where their properties are on the other side of Route 13 has to all be shown. All the lot lines, the names, the lot numbers, it's all gotta be shown. And you have to identify the owner of lot 62-1, which looks like a little tiny lot in front of it, right? Where the inset box is parked on top of it.
Yeah, that's on the plan as well, I believe.
Well, it's not on what we have, sir.
On the large sheet of paper, there'll be room for that.
He said it's on the plan, it's not what we have. This is just, these are Ts and, you have to cross, and Is you have to dot in order to make it complete.
On the topo, you have additional abutters listed, is that 62, is map 4 lot 62
62-1?
If I'm not mistaken, 62-1
Oh,
I
no.
have is listed as an abutter on the large sheet.
You've got the 62.
62-1 is,
Sorry, is that not what that is?
62 is not listed.
62 is Sperry's lot. 62-1 is, I know the lot that they built, there's a nice house there with a fence all around it.
But it's not listed as a butter.
no.
I don't see
But-
62-1.
But
just so you
because
know.
it's labeled on the lot, LaRoque, sorry, for,
Whatever.
is labeled on the lot.
If you have any
so maybe-
questions, Joanne can guide you on how to make the plan complete, so that you don't come in here with an incomplete plan and get shipped out till another meeting.
Right, but the purpose of this conceptual plan didn't necessarily mean
A
having.
butters notices, yes, no,
Okay.
we understand.
The purpose of the conceptual plan is to give you all the information you need, so when you come back, you've
Right.
got everything done.
Right.
Is it, Joanne, is it common to just do a subdivide lot with no purpose for subdividing the lot?
Sure, you can do that.
You can just do that? Okay.
Question.
Barbara?
Subdivision plan, so what are the little dotted wet lines, paths all over the place? What are they?
Those are delineated wetlands.
No, I think she's talking about the
No.
little
No, I'm
trails.
talking about these little.
The Woods Road.
Woods Road.
Oh, the dash lines are just various woods road that are on the
Okay.
property now.
Okay,
Was
and
it logged
then,
at some one time, with those all roads or skidder roads?
You can probably answer that better than I.
I don't know. It looks like it was a campground at some time,
Oh, yeah.
somewhere along the line. People were living up there and moving around. And
oh yeah, it probably was a campground.
You are gonna have to comply with shoreline regulations.
Right, assuming we are within the 250-foot buffer of the river.
Well, you can't build within the 250-foot buffer, can you, Collis?
That's what
no.
triggers shoreline, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't that what triggers the shoreline permitted? Is,
The 250 foot?
yes.
Yes.
That's a
So
no- that's a-
if they're outside of it.
Yeah, you gotta be
Right,
outside the
right,
250-foot
the
shoreline.
town's only 100 feet, right?
Sorry?
The town's only 100 feet.
That's the wetland.
That's the
Right.
one.
Shoreline Protection Act
And
is federal.
surface
That's-
water is
that's the
100
state, yeah.
feet.
It tells you how many trees you
that's
can
the-
cut, in what diameter, and what zone.
Yep.
The first 50 feet is a number of trees and what size, which is pretty much no cut. 50 to 100 or 150 is another zone, and then on out to 250 is a third zone. And there's a whole complex formula that tells you what you're allowed to cut based on the width, the diameter of the tree, the circumference of the tree. It's a whole nother world.
It's RSA 483B.
There you go, write it down.
So you'll need to show the 100-foot surface water setback from the river,
Correct.
not the wetland setback.
Yep.
So realistically, if I'm hearing it right, can they build within 250 feet of the road of the wetlands of the river if there's no trees? If it's just,
Well, there's restrictions within the 250 feet relative to salt storage, junkyards, those sorts of things. So you have to read the entire 483B.
how about housing? Is that
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah,
You'll
that's in
also
there.
need to show the 100.
You figure it out when you read it.
Yep,
Right.
it's all in there.
Shoreline, you can do certain things in each different
Right.
buffer. You
That's
can
right.
absolutely build in the 250, you can
Right.
build in the 150.
Right.
The 50 on that, I don't know with a.
You can't build within the 100 unless you get what is it, you gotta come back here for the outer 50, for what is it, conditional use permit?
Surface water is 100,
Right,
so you can't build within the 100.
Oh, okay.
For
So you're
surface
not-
water.
right. Yep,
The wetland itself is 100.
Right.
That will need to be
Yep.
shown too.
understood.
All right,
Question.
Barbara?
Back on subdivision plan 101, on the inset. My eyes are bothering me because it looks like your lot A on that inset has got a 45-degree or 90-degree angle as compared to the actual lot, which is clearly not a 90-degree angle. And I
Going
would
in
like that to be cleared up because I want to know whether that lot line intersects, and I'm sure the abutters would like to know, map 4 lot 61 or map 7 lot 9.
The inset shows an angle that's less than 90 degrees. The subdivision plan you're proposing is an angle greater than 90 degrees, so it doesn't represent, the inset doesn't represent what you put on the...
Noted, we had to adjust that line to achieve the 5-acre minimum, and it didn't get relayed to the inset, so we'll note that.
Okay, I just so it matches.
I think the inset's gonna go away with the requirement of having the entire parcel shown anyway, so that'll be inconsequential to the next round.
All right, and then on the topo, I am not familiar with the back of this property, so can you please explain to me what I'm seeing for grading as I look along the river and then along the proposed edge? Is it as steep as it looks, or what's
Yes.
going on?
The bank is very steep.
Yes,
It
it
is.
is.
We had to get to the bottom of it, no pun intended, to locate the river, so it's steep.
318 to 298.
So you've got a wetlands and a steep issue.
Well, we're not gonna be doing anything right in that area anyways, where the river bank is.
But I'm looking, the grade issue continues where I suspect your proposed
Yeah.
driveway would be.
Right,
And we have rules on how steep your driveway can be,
With the
and I'm
fire
just
department.
looking at the distance there and wondering what the actual grade is going to be.
the grade right there, you're correct, is steep, but we will be designing the driveway to meet NFPA standards and anything that Goffstown is gonna require for, you know, a maximum slope on that.
10% for driveways.
10%?
Yeah.
And the turn, right?
And the radii, yep, we'll be
Yeah.
considering that as well.
It needs a turnaround.
Okay.
Yep, you'll need a turnaround. We have a detail for that. It's in the driveway permit package, the
Yep.
detail for it.
Yep, okay.
Do you have any other questions for us that you need answered?
I just want to add some input, so.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that you're not going to design the site at all. We've typically been requiring stormwater reports for these subdivisions, and we require it at the time of subdivision because we have no mechanism to require you to come back and do it when you get your building permit. Once you have a subdivided lot, this board now has no say over what's done on that lot, so what we look for is, you just saw that subdivision that was here, it was just a 2-lot subdivision, so we required a stormwater report. It can be, for these ones, we're allowing it to be kind of, minimal. I don't need 10 pages in the front that tell me about the site and about the project. I kind of just want a quick, this is how we're gonna mitigate stormwater runoff, and then pre and post that we don't have any excess runoff after the,
So a drainage memo, more or less.
the drainage memo, but typically I get the HydroCAD that shows whatever BMPs you're gonna implement will work for the site, so.
You don't want a 100-page report.
No, I don't want a 100-page report, and.
We don't want to make one.
Yeah, so,
I've delivered one of them before.
the last subdivision that was here, they used infiltration trenches along the driveway. This driveway is really long and it's through a wet section, so I don't know if that'll work, but it's probably a sandy site based off what the rest of that site is, so.
Right.
You'll get some infiltration on that site, probably
Right.
up where it's elevated. So something to, being that close to the river, we also don't want excess runoff and, so.
Yep, no, I can understand that. I guess to your point about not having to come back after we do the subdivision to do whatever Joe wants to do out here. We're definitely gonna be back before the board for crossing wetlands and,
So crossing wetlands, you don't have to come to this
Yes.
board.
or putting utility poles across wetlands.
No.
DES. DES regulates all the wetlands.
Yeah, so
So
the
there's no
only
conditional
thing,
use
only
permits
our wetland requirements are for building within that envelope. You can
Okay.
cross the wetlands with driveways. It's our water surface wetland conservation district, so it doesn't include driveways, those rules.
And so utilities are part and parcel with the driveway, and there's nothing in that regard that we would have to go.
We have never had an applicant ask us if they can put utility poles in
Yeah.
their driveway before, because it's not under our purview
Yeah.
to deny.
Okay, okay.
But the other thing is that get us a profile for the driveway that proves you can access the site too.
Sure.
So, which I think was explained in the driveway permit that was. I guess maybe.
We will need
Yeah,
to go
so-
back to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, and I actually had almost the same comments as Conservation Commission that were just kind of general, that you'd need a wetland permit, possibly shoreland, the building envelope, and the 4K area.
We have, our purview is to meet the regulations. If you get a subdivision at your next meeting, and you walk out of there with a subdivided parcel, you want to build a house on it, you don't go right to the building department. You have to come back here with all the mitigations and different elements of building a house on paper, and then you go to the building department and get your permits after the planning board says yes on all, or waivers, or whatever happens, to meet the regulations.
Well, it's once they have the signed subdivision plan in hand. is
Right,
when
then
can
they,
go
but
to
they can't go
building.
straight to the building department and say, I want to put a house there. They still have to come back to us to make sure the drainage reports are satisfied and the mitigation and all that stuff, because they don't deal with that at the building department.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's
They
why I'm
don't come
saying we
back
want
here
to.
for that.
Well, now
No,
I'm
that's why I'm.
confused.
It's part of this.
No, yeah,
lot-
he's
it's
kind of
part
saying it
subdivision.
differently than what I was explaining. So we want that all figured out before they sign off on it.
Because after that, we
We
will
don't-
not be coming back.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay,
Right.
all right,
That's
all
what
right.
it's
I
part
just
of
wanna
the
make sure I
subdivision.
Once it's
understand.
signed and recorded, this
Right.
board doesn't rule on it anymore.
Understood.
Unless
Okay.
you want to subdivide it again.
Right.
But if you come in here just for a straight up subdivision and walk out, you're still gonna have to come back for all the parts of putting a house on that lot that we have to authorize. So you're better off to.
No,
No.
it's not the case, is it?
Well, how are you gonna handle the drainage report?
That's
We're
why he
asking-
wants it now.
Well, that's, yeah,
Yeah, but
we're
how do you know how big the house is gonna be and how much
They do
how
a
much-
conceptual development plan.
conceptual, so obviously they could build something bigger, they could build something smaller.
All right, I guess I'm wrong. I've never seen it done that way.
I already have a design.
Right.
Joanne, can I ask for clarification? And I think it's just, your staff memo says lot 63 is a 5-acre lot and being subdivided
Yeah,
into 1.5
it's-
acres.
it's
really
actually-
the 48,
Correct.
and it's gonna be divided into a 43 and a 5.
5.26.
And so is there an existing, and I just, because this weighs into like the waiver on, all the, is there an existing house on map 4 lot 63? Is there any existing development out there?
Yes.
Okay, so there's an existing,
That's why
so,
we need to
It's
see
a
it.
3-bedroom.
yeah, so
single
that'll
family.
be shown when you're doing
Correct.
the overall, and to me, just as one member and giving feedback on the waiver, as you saw earlier tonight, we granted a waiver, and part of the reason that I was supportive of that was because the existing lot had an existing house, was already previously developed.
Sure.
And then they were providing us enough information on the new lot to know that it met our standards. So that's, a reason why I would support a waiver on all the additional, delineation and whatnot on the full lot, because we know that there's already,
Right.
it already has existing home,
Yep, okay.
so.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else for the applicant they'd like to advise them on?
On the lot, you show a zone X shaded. I've not seen the word shaded before. Does that refer to foliage or something that, how FEMA delineated?
That's a FEMA delineation,
So maybe a little clarification.
yeah.
Just a question on the driveway permit. It says approved third entrance. I thought it was a second entrance.
I'm sorry, I didn't notice that.
So how many entrances are we talking?
What number
So
are
I
you
guess
on?
they have 3. Actually, that makes sense, I think the existing house has a, like a
Horseshoe.
I think it's a horseshoe, yeah.
Yeah. But it has, well, I don't know what the total lot frontage is, do I?
Like
Over
890
200, I read
square
it on
feet.
there.
What's that?
No, it's 890 something square feet. It's like
890
1,000
something, so you need
200 is on this, I saw it on the
you
plan
need
somewhere.
200 for the first, and then 150 for a second, and then 150 for a third, so they've got plenty with 800.
So we'll show
That's
the
just-
driveway on that
Yeah,
overall
just
plan as
show
well, to
the
make
other
sure we
one.
have a dimension
Separation.
I
between.
just heard
Is that what you're talking
seconds
about?
and then I saw.
No, she was asking if 3 was too many for the lot. I think that's what you were getting at.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I had heard reference to this one as being the second driveway.
I'm sorry, I kind
Yeah, you
of
can show it.
So I
misspoke.
just wanted
Yeah,
to make
so
sure.
that's just out of curiosity, that's all. I'm looking at.
But there's that 40 feet of separation is well the other driveway's well beyond that.
Even if they have, even when they move it to,
Yes, yeah. Well, they're not moving the driveway anyway,
They're
they're
moving
moving
the
the
lot.
property line, yeah, the lot line.
All right, anything else? Move us along. You guys good?
Yep.
Okay, thanks for coming
All
in.
right, thank you.
See you when you come back with a plan.
Good day, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
See you again.
Good night.
Should have grabbed my car keys.
All right, we covered all our agenda items, Joanne. We still have to talk about, on your correspondence and action items, we have proposed fee increases. We have a sheet with us, you provided us with.
Yes. So our fees have not been increased in a few years, and Derek asked us to take a look at them to see if we wanted to make a recommendation. So we compared them to other towns. I guess we're not so bad because other towns haven't done them for a while either, except for Milford. But we've made a recommendation. If you see on towards the bottom of the page where it says Town of Goffstown, the fees that I've listed, everything above recommended are the current fees.
Okay.
And recommended is what we're asking to increase them to. So,
I have a question on the engineering review. I didn't understand. So currently you have engineering review 70 an hour, 300, 500.
so we would leave the 3 and 5 alone. We would just make a recommendation to change the 70 to 89.30, and that's based on a formula that they've been using for
So it's
a
the
number of
That
500,
years.
also
300
changes
reversed?
That can change twice a year too. So when the first of the year, when the new insurance policies are released, it's changed because of the premium costs and the overhead.
Yeah, because you're just recouping costs at that point.
And then in July is typically when there are any pay increases in town, so that's another time of year where it could
So is that
change.
happening automatically?
It hasn't been, that's the thing. So
Okay, I don't see why that doesn't just happen automatically. My question was,
I bill
the
at that,
300,
that's the
500
rate I bill
across the
at.
bottom look like they're reversed, Joanne. I couldn't understand. It
So
looked
what-
to me like the 300 was becoming 500 and the 500 was becoming 300.
What's the 500 represent,
The
Joanne?
it's a base fee, so for the first column, it's a base fee for site plan. So that would go from 200 to 400. And then the next column is the base fee for subdivision. So that would go from 400 to 500. And then the lot line adjustment would go from 210 to 300.
Okay, all right.
And then a conditional use permit would go from 50 to 100. A butter's fees would go from 10 to 12. Conceptual would go from 50 to 100, and mergers would go from 25 to 30.
Could you go back to the 500? I'm so confused on how that got there.
Yeah,
So-
they're in line with the engineering review.
Yeah.
I think that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
I think it's just reversed. I think the proposal for engineering review is to go from 70 to 89.30 and to keep the 300 and 500.
Yeah,
Is that right? So the
that
300 and
8930 is
500 are
by
just
itself, yeah.
So the
reversed.
engineering review at 300 for a two-lot subdivision would remain the same. It's in the wrong location.
Right.
And then for a three-lot subdivision at 500, that goes in the other side of it and
Right.
it stays the same.
Correct.
So the only change is the engineering review.
It's only a $100 increase for each one.
And you see why I bark about applicants not coming in prepared when they're paying over $300 an hour for their applicants, for their engineers. And Scott and our staff is given them all the information they need to fix their plans.
So I noticed that you did not have the engineering fee for other communities, Joanne.
No, because a lot of the other communities use a third-party engineer, and they basically set their own fees.
So that's our in-house engineering.
Yeah.
Is that where we're heading over time?
I would not recommend it. I've lived it, and I wouldn't recommend it.
For everything, it's a problem.
Okay. All right, so do we need a motion to accept your recommended amounts to move forward with this?
Yes. If you'd like to word the engineering review differently, that it can be automatic twice a year.
I think that so that we don't have to revisit it, I don't know what the right wording is, but if it be, you know, the engineering review fee is,
Engineering review fee could be simply stated to reflect the cost
Yeah, the
for the
actual
town
cost.
engineer's reimbursement rate. That's all it really
Yeah.
is his time, his insurance.
Motion to set the engineering review rate at the actual cost pursuant to the formula used by administration, changing with contracts, new pay year, and COLAs.
Second.
Okay.
That cover all of them, Barbara?
That's the intent.
Okay, good, but you just said engineering review.
No, that motion was solely for engineering review for an automatic change.
But for all of the possible salary changes to be included.
So Barbara's made a motion to handle the proposed fee increases for the engineering review only. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Now the rest of the recommended rates.
move to adopt the rest of the recommended rates as presented by the planning department.
Second.
Okay, motion been made to accept the recommended rates for all the other fee increases as proposed by the planning department. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Have you been told that Gail is leaving?
No.
So Gail sent us an email saying that she's,
Not gonna be minutes.
well, it's not she's gonna stop immediately. She is stopping CIP, no, she's not starting CIP. And she's not doing, what's the other one? Budget. She said she'd stay on for, excuse me, a few others until they find someone. But if they don't find someone soon, then she would be forced to leave. So
So the town is in the hunt for minutes?
potentially don't have a minute taker for the near future.
So what are we doing about it?
Well, Derek said something about he was contacting some company. I've never heard of them. I don't really know what they do, but
Well, I hope they take minutes.
hopefully. But it's, haven't heard anything since.
They do duct work or something.
No, they use AI, you just.
I don't know
walk in.
if they're like, you know, those court type reporters.
So
I don't know
we're not
what kind
gonna
of
be
a
getting
company
any
it
minutes
is.
in our packet for the short term to vote on.
Well,
We have-
she
She's gonna
said
stay on
she
for
would
a little
stay on
bit.
for a little
Yeah.
while.
So
She gave notice for the other ones, because their seasons haven't really
we need
started.
to, we need to
so
sign the appointment papers for David Brown. Do you have them with you, Joanne?
They're probably in
They
the
should be in
signature
your
as well.
folder.
Stuff inside.
They should-
I never look at this thing.
That's what those little I
I
have
am
a
now.
question, I have another question. So
Please.
how are we doing on our development regs?
Oh, we're doing really well.
Oh, I'm glad I asked.
How are we doing on our impact fee too? I want to talk about that someday.
So we finished our review. We met with CLD, not, is it CLD?
Tanner.
Sorry, Will Tanner. We met with Will Tanner.
You should
We
sign there.
gave her our input on a few things that we had questions on. She's going to take one final look at everything. Then once we have hers down, we're going to send it to the town attorney for his review. And then we'll be ready to present it to you. Now, the problem with presenting it to you is the entire document has been revamped. So it's not like we can give you a red line version of it. We're just gonna have to go through each section.
Okay. Does it make sense to give it to the town attorney first or after we bastardize it?
Well, it's really up to you. We thought maybe it should go to him first because then we can say, well, he said this was fine versus somebody questioning a whole bunch of things and then finding
Well,
out.
I mean, he's not looking at details, so, okay.
It's gonna go
He's
to your
looking
attorney
at
twice
legal,
then.
making sure we're.
I just don't want
doing
it to
things
go to
the
the
way-
attorney twice, like after,
Yeah.
that
Well,
would only be for our changes if it goes
I can
down.
hold off and have it go to you first. Then we can make changes from there and then send it to
Are we
him.
anywhere with impact fees? We're supposed to review them on a schedule. We haven't done them since I can remember.
Yeah, so, the,
So we're gonna get a recommendation for the board of selectmen on what to proceed or? a further
no,
discussion?
Derek's been talking with the town attorney about it
So what
and
we should hear from them?
On,
on the impact fees, and the school district has been involved in the conversations.
We will wait.
So that's nearing an end.
do you have anything else, John?
No, I do not.
Motion to adjourn.
I already put your initials down here. Phil made the motion to adjourn, seconded by Richard Freeman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention. Thank you all. Thank you, GTV.